Hello, listeners. This is Kelly. I wanted to let you know that Two Broads Talking Politics is now seeking advertisers. If you've listened to us from the early days, you know that we originally had advertisements directly from Spreaker, but they included ads for content that we didn't approve of. We would now like to find advertisers whose values align with our own. If you run a small business or website and would like to advertise with us, please email twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com for more information and our very competitive rates. Our presenting sponsor tonight is Treknobabble.net, a website for Trekkies by Trekkies. Super Trekkies Kevin Curran and Matthew Wetflin are reviewing every episode and movie of Star Trek ever made. They've already reviewed TOS, the animated series, TNG, and Deep Space Nine. They're currently working their way through Voyager and are also reviewing and podcasting the new Star Trek series, Star Trek Discovery. Check them out at treknobabble.net. Hello, everyone. This is Kelly, and you are listening to Two Broads Talking Politics. I am here tonight with my co-host, Sophie.
Hello, everyone.
And we also have a special guest with us here today. Our special guest is Maggie O'Keefe. Hi, Maggie.
Hey.
So we have brought Maggie on to talk to us because today we're going to talk about voting, something that is exceptionally important now, as always. So Maggie has been very involved in getting people registered to vote in Chicago, and that's how she came to my attention. I am actually a trained deputy registrar in the city of Chicago, although I have yet to actually register anyone. Sorry, Maggie.
It's okay.
So, Maggie, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, what your sort of, if you have any background in political organizing or how you came to be involved with this work?
I woke up in November, this time last year, actually. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And I, like many people, were disgusted and scared and decided that what I did for the campaigns prior to that was not enough. Mm-hmm. And as a young person, you know, I'm 28 years old. Our future's on the line. And so I was looking at some of the voter turnout rates, which were at a 20-year low in 2016. And I figured that that was a good place for me to start.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, we've talked some on this podcast about how we may or may not be able to convince other people to think the way we do or to vote the way we want them to, but if we could just get more people in general voting, it seems like the numbers would be on our side.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could look at, if you look at the data for the 2016 election, the age range between 18 and 24, all but 5 states were blue. So that means that 45 out of the 50 states are voting Democrat. And so, but at the same time, the number for the 18 to 20-year-olds are not turning out to vote as much as boomers and millennials, older generational millennials, I guess, and even our grandparents. Mm-hmm. So that is a huge problem because they are the future, right? Like, right. I have a 16-year-old sister, a 28-year-old brother, and their futures, just like mine, are on the line, and their voice should be the most heard, mm-hmm. in my opinion.
So when you woke up and you decided getting people to vote was the important thing, how did you actually come about, you know, sort of getting people trained to be deputy registrars, and, you know, did you have a support system in place to help you through that?
Yeah, my friend had told me to contact the 47th Ward Democratic Organization, Committeeman Paul Rosenfeld, and we got coffee in early January, and I told him exactly what I told you, that I wanted to register people to vote, and he said, okay. In order to throw training sessions, you have to have a sponsor group. And so, like your sponsor group, my sponsor group is the 47th Dems. which is, it is a Democrat organization, but voter registration is nonpartisan. So, so when we go into high schools or events, festivals, we are not allowed to talk about, who we vote for or who we voted for, or which side we're on, because we're there to do that one civic duty, which is register people to vote. And so he said, yes, do it. Here are my contacts at the Board of Elections. Here's my contacts at the Cook County Clerk's Office. And as of February 2017, I've been able to host over 8 trainings across Cook County, so even suburban Cook County. And we've now yielded over 440 deputy registrars.
That's amazing.
I know. It's great. My goal is 500 for the year, and we have our next training in next week at the Sulzer Library in the 47th Ward. That will hopefully yield a few more to get to my 500.
Yeah, well, I know I was at the training in Hyde Park, and it was packed.
Yes.
I was shocked when I walked in the room how many people were there to be trained. So that's fantastic. Did you expect that you would get those sorts of numbers when you started this?
Yeah, so when I first my first post out was, I believe, in the Women's March of Chicago group, and I made it very easy, right? Organizing, you have to do all the necessary minuscule steps to make it as easy as possible for people. And so what I did was I posted in that group, and I said, if you're interested in becoming a deputy voter registrar, just like this post, just like it. and that yielded like 250 likes, loves, and then I went and I individually messaged every single person. And from there, I got their emails and I emailed them, and then we got a Google form going, and then I booked the location for the first one in the 47th Ward, and it's kind of spiraled in an upward spiral ever since.
And since I happen to have looked at the stats, and about 20% of our listening audience is in or near Chicago, if there are people locally who are interested in having training sessions, is that something that you can accommodate?
Absolutely, yeah. They can contact me at voterwarriors@gmail.com. And if they're even outside of the county as well, if they're outside of Cook County, we could still be a sponsor group for them, but we'll just have to go through the regulations with their clerk's office or their Board of Elections if it's different from Cook County. But yeah, totally. I've talked to many people across the state in neighboring counties to help them figure out how to do this. And like even spin-offs in Cook County have happened. So like a really good friend of mine, Lenny, she's with Indivisible Illinois. She owns her own business, and so therefore she can be a sponsor group. And so she started throwing registrar trainings as well. So anyone can do this. You just need a sponsor group, and we are happy to host you. That's for sure.
That's great. Unfortunately, voting laws, of course, are state by state, so all of our listeners outside of Illinois,
yes,
we can't help you with that, but I assume that there are similar sorts of things in at least some other states.
Oh, definitely. If you don't live in a city or you're in a rural part of your state, look for your Democratic organizations, or your Democrat organizations in your town, in your county. They can be your sponsor group, and it's pretty much to the book nearly in every state. Some counties have it that it's like only librarians and judges and principals are allowed to be registrars. So, just do that extra step of work and go onto your clerk's website or call them and ask them how that works and see if they can help you from there.
And then can you talk to us a little bit about what happens after people are trained? Since I have failed in this regard, I'm asking for myself too. Where do people go to register people to vote? What do they do? Who should they be sort of finding to register?
Totally. I mean, anyone that has moved in the past day to year, they need to be re-registered. So my primary focus has been students, high school students primarily. We do have our South Side volunteers that are doing a lot of registering in the Cook County Jail because it's a common misconception. But and again, it's state by state. But someone that's being held in jail, they're innocent until they're proven guilty. So they could still register to vote, and they can essentially vote if they are innocent from their crime or they're let go from what their time is being served. And then once they are out of the prison system, they are actually allowed to re-register immediately. But backtracking, I have had a wonderful group of volunteers from these 440 plus people who we got together at the end of summer, and I was like, listen, this is what I want to do. I want to contact every single high school in Cook County. I don't care if it's public, private, charter, what have you, homeschool, even. And we've done that. We've created scripts, and we've now we've been in, I think, over 30. I would say we've definitely done over 30 voter drives, whether they be in schools or festivals or events. But like this month in particular, November, is gearing up to be our largest amount of voter drives in high schools. And what's really awesome is that it's primarily on the southwest side, or the south and the west side of Chicago, or in the Cook County. So it's been truly an eye-opening experience, and we've been able to register thousands of people thus far in such a short amount of time.
That's really exciting. So, again, for listeners who are not from Illinois, you might think, well, Chicago's all totally blue anyway. What difference does it make? It's not going to change the outcomes of elections. That's not even true within the city of Chicago, but also we have a Republican governor. It's going to be a very contentious race in 2018. And so it's going to be extremely important for voter turnout to be very high.
Absolutely. And what we have to do as registrars after we register people to vote is that we have to then turn out the vote, right? We have to get the vote out. We have to get people out there and voting for the first time, or re-engaging in politics again, and in their government, and really using their voice. That's my next steps that I'm working towards after December, getting out the vote for the primary elections, because like you said, we have the gubernatorial race for governor, which is a huge race, but we also have Senate seats. We have Cook County assessor. We have Attorney General is going to be a huge and important race. And so all of these come into play, especially for first-time voters. I think that's what I'm most excited about, is that I think a lot of the times young people don't understand local politics, and so they wait until the national election, like the presidential election, to cast their first vote. I know I certainly did, right? And so Barack Obama was my first ballot cast, and I'll never forget that moment. But if I knew about local politics, and if I was engaged or interested, we could really be further along than we think. So the sooner we get people, primarily young people,